kwickieTV, NBA Today Quick Shots. I'm your host, Ken Thompson. We're coming at you live from the United States on this Friday, December the 16th. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we welcome you to our show. If you've tuned in before, you know exactly how it works. 30 minutes nonstop action. It'll move fast, it'll move furious. It is NBA like no other show. We've got a cast of characters as far as on our panel. We've got a resident pro as far as Tracy Murray, former NBA vet for 12 years, and former assistant coach in the NBA with a couple different teams, Dave Miller. We also have 5 other individuals that are outstanding, and they're all very knowledgeable in the NBA, so you're going to get an action-packed show on this Friday, December 16th. We will review, we will preview, we will hit things from a betting angle with our resident pro, Johnny Robb. We'll also hit things from the fantasy angle as well, so you can set your lineups. We'd like to start tonight's show by reflecting back on the life and times of Craig Sager. Craig passing away yesterday at 65 years young. We say young because that's the way he lived his life. 30 years an NBA broadcaster, most of it with the Turner Broadcasting Network. Steve Kerr, reflecting back on his 8 years that he worked together with Craig Sager, had nothing but great things to say. What a hard worker Sager was. And of course, he was known for those colorful jackets that he always wore. He was flamboyant. He was charismatic. He was passionate. He was well prepared. Always wanted to be close to the action. He started out at Northwestern where he got his degree. He was actually Willie the Wildcat. He was the mascot for Northwestern. He wanted to be close to the action, and that's how he started. So we reflect back on the life of Craig Sager, an individual that was loved by many and is still loved by many. And again, we celebrate his life. We are very fortunate. We got to spend a lot with him as far as games on TV. Meanwhile, we're going to continue our show. We're going to review games from last night, 5 games on the hardwood. We're also going to preview the 10 games on the docket this evening. Looking forward to some great action. And of course, Johnny Robb's going to give you the betting angle on a bunch of these games. And we're going to take it to the limit as far as fantasy action. We'll help you set those lineups, whether you're in a daily fantasy league or a year-long league. We are live in 157 countries. I'm Ken Thompson. Sit back, buckle up. It's going to be a great show. All right, time to take a closer look at what happened last night on the hardwood. Also introduce you to our starting 5 as far as on the panel. And of course, talked about our resident pros. They, of course, being Tracy Murray, 12-year NBA vet out of UCLA, and former assistant coach Dave Miller with a couple different teams in the NBA. The rest of the starting 5, Johnny Robb, outstanding handicapper, and Johnny will give you some winners today. Yannick Kofi, he's known as King Thurs. Jay Skapanak, outstanding presence. Chuck Walton, great questions, great answers. And Shayna Calandro, she does it all. She represents the ladies here as far as NBA Today Quick Shots. Last night's games on the hardwood, Milwaukee 108-97 took out Chicago. Adi DeCumbo had 30 points, 14 boards. New Orleans 102-95 took out Indiana with 35 and 16 from Anthony Davis. Gallinari had 27 as Denver put up 74 in the first half. They roll over Portland 132-120. San Antonio got 18 and 10 from Kawhi Leonard in another road win, this one by 15 at Phoenix. And Golden State played a shorthanded Knicks team. No Carmelo, no Derrick Rose. Didn't much matter. Golden State flew 103-90 behind 25 from Klay Thompson. Now let's go to our expert panel. Let's see what they thought about last night's action.
Well, the Bulls really blew a chance to solidify themselves in the playoff standings in that Eastern Conference last night as the Bucks got the victory 108-97. Coach, where was this game won and lost?
Well, the Bulls lost this game from the tip. I thought they were uninspired. They looked like they didn't even want to be there. Remember, they were coming off an unbelievably bad loss to a young Minnesota team. They got down 16-8. And then when you look at it from a coaching standpoint, they shot the 3 extremely poor. Their transition defense was porous at best. And then they coupled those two by turning the basketball over. Now on the Buck side, Jabari Parker, the Greek freak, they combined for 58 points. Man, has Giannis gotten better. We always knew he was a terror in transition, but his skill set keeps getting better and better. Jabari Parker scoring at will. Bad loss for Chicago. Great win for the Bucks.
The Pelicans had a good win at home over the Indiana Pacers, 102-95. Who was the difference, Tracy?
No question, Anthony Davis, man. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He's playing very well. He had 35 points and 16 rebounds. But you got to look at Drew Holiday also helped him out, and Drew had 16 points and 14 assists. But Anthony Davis, every time Miles Turner did something, Anthony Davis, he matched him and then some. Miles Turner pushed him a little bit. It was a great matchup, but Anthony Davis is a monster, and he's playing at a different level right now.
The Nuggets had a high-scoring win over the Trailblazers, 132-120. Shayna, what's your thoughts?
I think this game last night just further confirmed that the Trailblazers are very inconsistent and they can't just do it with Damian Lillard. He had 40 points and 10 assists and they still lost 132-120. But their biggest issue was that they had no presence on the defensive end, and the Denver Nuggets were able to take advantage of that. 8 of their players were in double digits. Everyone who touched the floor scored at least one basket. It was just too easy for them to score. So if the Trailblazers are going to keep a playoff spot, they're 8th in the West right now. If they're going to keep a spot in the playoffs, they're going to have to learn how to win on the road and have a defensive presence every single night. Next up, they have the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings, and if they don't play defense against those two teams, it's going to be ugly. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how they adjust in the next few games.
Okay, Thurs. The San Antonio Spurs seem to be making their move on the Warriors. They now sit at 21-5 after back-to-back wins. Where was last night's game won and where was it lost? Talk to me, man.
Hey, Chuck. So the Spurs are definitely on the heels of the Warriors at 21-5, and they are the NBA's best road team. This game against the Suns was won in the fourth quarter. It's pretty much a close game until the 10-minute mark. Barbosa put his team up by 1, but the Spurs responded on the defensive end and clamped down and then went on an 11-0 run. You had 18 points and 10 rebounds from Kawhi Leonard, 18 points and 9 rebounds from Pau Gasol. LaMarcus Aldridge entered back into the starting lineup, had a rough first half, but he was still able to chip in 14 points. The Suns, they fell short. Devin Booker had 17 points and fell short of a chance to give his team consecutive wins. The Spurs might be the deepest team in the NBA. They have so many weapons, and they're scary.
The Golden State Warriors were just too strong last night as they moved the ball really well against the undermanned New York Knicks. Chuck, how did you see this game play out?
Well, Shayna, I saw it play out the way that I think we all expected once we found out Carmelo Anthony and Derrick Rose would not suit up for the game. What I didn't see was that the Warriors would be just almost perfection. I mean, they had 26 buckets on 26 assists at the half. That is historic. That is unreal. This Warriors team is going to be a special one, almost more special than maybe we even imagine when you move the basketball like that and they can't be stopped. What I will say is the Knicks actually played a very, very tough game considering that they were without Melo and Derrick Rose, who's been giving them 16 points per game. So they kept it closer than I thought. It wasn't quite a 40 or 50 point blowout, but the game played out as expected with the Warriors win.
All right, time to take a look at the hot headlines and hot topics as far as NBA basketball. Nothing bigger than the NBA getting a new collective bargaining agreement as the Players Association agreed with the brass of the NBA on a new 7-year deal. That's pretty big news right there. No trades to speak of, but our panel's got lots to talk about. Let's go to them right now. Let's go to our experts, find out what they think about this new deal in place for the NBA and the players.
Let's go to our expert analyst to talk about the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement. Tracy, what does this mean for us, the fans?
I think the collective bargaining agreement means more to the players and the owners than the fans. I guess what it means to the fans is that you get to see a lot of guys make a lot of money. But hopefully with making that money, everybody picks up their intensity and give the fans what they want.
And Coach, does the new CBA allow for a change in scheduling to reduce what we've seen this week with star players sitting out games?
Well, it's certainly a step in the right direction. By shortening the preseason, it's going to give the NBA a week early start. That gives them more wiggle room to fit in those back-to-backs. But here's some thoughts that I have. Maybe we just eliminate the preseason totally. Players hate it. Us coaches think it's a necessary evil. But that way, you don't have to have all those back-to-backs. Another option would be maybe go from an 82-game regular season and cut it by 10 to 72 games. The players would absolutely love that. The problem you have is with the owners. That's 10 lost opportunities to bring in more money in terms of ticket sales, concessions, merchandise. Whichever the case may be, these players need rest. There's a lot of wear and tear in a long year.
Draymond Green was quick to express his displeasure with the new CBA agreement. How does this work for the players, Tracy? Is this a good deal or a bad deal for the players?
Well, Chuck, I haven't really checked the deal out in detail, but all I know is that Chris Paul is up at the end of the year, and he has a chance of making 5 years, like $207 million. Is that a problem with the players? Making that type of money? I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't know what the problem is. I'm going to get down to the bottom of it and check it out this weekend. And another thing I wanted to say is rest in peace to Craig Sager. I saw you on ESPN. You were mentioned on ESPN the other day, Chuck. So that's one of our guys, man, one of our colleagues. And I just wanted to say rest in peace to Craig Sager. Love you, man.
Well, I see an interesting or maybe an odd rule change in the new collective bargaining agreement that will benefit the aging gold medalists, LeBron James and Chris Paul.
Yeah, so previously it was hard to get a max contract if you're gonna turn the age of 36. Now it's been changed to the age of 38, which would definitely benefit players like Chris Paul, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and obviously it's no coincidence that Chris Paul is the president of the union and Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James are VPs. But these are players who have made the league popular, so I'm glad to see them get a bigger piece of the pie.
The Lakers are back in the news for all the wrong reasons, but Coach, can they still challenge for a playoff spot? And if so, who needs to step up and lead this team post-Kobe era?
Well, Shane, I think when you're talking playoffs, it's at least a year, maybe two away. Now, Laker fans are excited about the young core with Randall, Russell, and Clarkson, and they will continue to get better. But to make a splash in the playoffs, you've got to have veterans. You've got to have superstars, and multiple ones at that. When you talk about who's going to be a leader in the post-Kobe era, that has to be a superstar or a very, very good veteran. Right now, there's nobody on this team that can take over that position. How do you get it? You've got to prove that the core is good. They've got to continue to get better. They've got to be fun. They've got to be exciting. There has to be a reason for a superstar to come to LA. It's not about the weather anymore. It's not about showtime. It's about what can you do for me? The Lakers need some superstars.
The discussion of Carmelo Anthony continues. Should Carmelo be rested or should he be traded? What do you think, panel?
Well, look, I say trade him. He's had an obvious rift with team president Phil Jackson as of late over some comments that Jackson's made, the posse comments about LeBron, and then the ball hog comments he made after that. Look, I say if you're the Knicks, trade him. See what you can get. Get some good young talent. Try to really initiate this rebuild on the fly as they are also in playoff contention right now. Just do it all in one fell swoop here. And if you're Carmelo Anthony, you're 32 years old. You've only been out of the first round of the playoffs one time. He has the worst winning percentage in NBA history for a player to play at least 50 playoff games at just 16-36. I say get to a contender now, see what you can do, maybe play for a championship. He hasn't done that yet either. I think it's a win-win for both teams if you trade Carmelo Anthony now.
The discussion of Carmelo Anthony continues. Should Carmelo be rested or should he be traded? What do you think, panel?
I personally think he needs to be traded. I think he should have been traded a few seasons ago, if we're going to be honest here. He's already stated he wants to be a New York Knick for life and et cetera, but he has not proven that he can take this team to a championship, let alone the playoffs enough times. I mean, He's a good player, especially offensively, but he's just not good enough. He can't be a number one player on a team to take them to the championship. So yes, I think it's going to be a win-win for the Knicks and Carmelo if he gets traded, because he can go to a team where he doesn't need to be the number one guy, and the Knicks can get somebody who's younger and who they can invest in rebuilding the Knicks team. So trade or rest Carmelo, absolutely trade him.
The discussion of Carmelo Anthony continues. Should Carmelo be rested or should he be traded? What do you think, panel?
Well, if you're the Knicks, there's no way you can trade Carmelo Anthony. Leading player, scorer, face of the franchise, whatever you want to name it. Now, if you need to rest him, then definitely rest him. Derrick Rose is going to rest as well with his back injury, but I like this Knicks team. I don't know if they're going to go to the finals, but I think they can shake up the playoffs, and they cannot do that without Carmelo Anthony. Unless they can trade him for a LeBron James or a Steph Curry, then he's off limits. They gave him the money. They have to ride this thing out and see if they can make it work. So look for Carmelo to stay in New York and just continue to get some rest.
The Spurs have been playing really good basketball lately. They had 33 assists on 44 baskets against the Celtics on Wednesday night, and then they played really well last night too. So Jay, in your opinion, have they turned a corner?
Well, Shayna, the term I like to use for the San Antonio Spurs is predictably excellent. And they have been good as of late. The win you mentioned against Phoenix last night pushes them to 14-1 on the season on the road. Overall, they've won 16 of their last 18 games, and they find themselves now positioned just one game in the loss column behind catching Golden State for best record in the league. But the barometer we have to measure San Antonio with is not are they a good team or a great team, but can they win a championship? That's how good they've been for the last 20 years now. We measure them in terms of their championship success. And I just do not see that ultimate matchup with Golden State in the 7-game playoff series as a great matchup for San Antonio. They're going to be a great team this regular season. Don't see them winning at all.
In the news this week and under a lot of pressure is D'Angelo Russell, who just last year was criticized by his coach for being immature, but can you now see this second-year rookie maturing to be the player he needs to be for the Lakers?
Hey, Shayna. With D'Angelo Russell, and as far as maturity goes, I see a slight difference with how this season started compared to last year. Last year was a huge low point, going 17-65. Team morale and team camaraderie seemed to be non-existent, especially with the incident between him and Nick Young. As a team leader, the rules of team fellowship need to be followed, and he has to be a catalyst in creating that chemistry amongst his teammates, along with production and leadership on the floor. His numbers this year are not that much different from last year. He's averaging 15 points per game. Has a slight increase in assists and a slight increase in steals, but he has a lot more to do to compare to the history of this franchise with Showtime Lakers, Shaq and Kobe Lakers. And if we're not trying to be as great as that, then what are we doing here?
Well, we've seen some spectacular dunks this year in the NBA already. But has Larry Nance Jr. made his papa proud in a Christmas nominee for Dunk of the Year?
Yes, it's the Dunk of the Year so far. I mean, the way he hit Brook Lopez's chest and continued to rise after that. And did you see how far he took off from? Better yet, did you see the crossover to lose the defender to get to that point? Larry Nance had the Dunk of the Year, and I can't see anybody topping it this year.
Well, the Houston Rockets officially cut ties with Donatas Motiejunas this week. That's after the Rockets signed Motiejunas to a 4-year, $31 million deal. Now that he's an unrestricted free agent, Chuck, where do you think he's going to end up next?
Well, Jay, happy holidays to you. I see that we're wearing the same color today. Look forward to seeing you at the holiday party later on. Motiejunas will probably go to Brooklyn on a bargain deal now that he is officially free, and they could just bring him in pretty much at their price. Because he has an injury history, I don't expect he'll get any offers near the money, $37 million that we were hearing he had on the table before. But I would expect the Nets to try and bring him in. Or even a team, like the Chicago Bulls, who I think can use some help down low to help Robin Lopez. But right now, the market could be, pretty slim in terms of him getting big pay. But guys that are looking for a big man, they're going to look to go after him.
Hey, guys, I need your help. I need to know how to say the Greek freak's name. I'm doing some prep work for Quickie, Is it Giannis Antetokounmpo? Giannis Antetokounmpo? I need your help. How do you say it? Can you help a coach out? Holler.
Well, Coach, it is a tough one. The Greek freak is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Antetokounmpo is how you pronounce the last name. Giannis, fairly easier on the first name, but just kind of slow it down and just do your best. If you really flow those T's into each other, no one's really even going to notice. But yeah, just try it out. Just go nice and slow with it. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Give it a shot, Coach.
Friday night, always a big slate in the NBA. No exception tonight. 10 games on the hardwood. Looking forward to a few of them. LA Clippers continuing the road trip. They'll be in South Beach to take on the Miami Heat as road favorites. Meanwhile, the second of a home and home with Chicago now hosting Milwaukee after the Bucks beat them by 11 last night in Wisconsin. 8 other games on the docket. Let's go to our Quick Shots team, see what they like, what they're looking at this evening.
Detroit heads to Washington to take on the Wizards at home, who currently sit in 11th place and will want this win. Chuck, who will win and why?
Well, this is hard. I like the Pistons, but I used to live in D.C. I went to college out there at Howard University. I attended a lot of Wizards games. I'm actually going to take the Wizards tonight. They've been a disappointment, I think, for all Wizards fans this season. But I feel like they're going to get the win at home. There's a lot of turmoil going on in that locker room surrounding that team. But I feel like they play pretty good at home on Friday nights. So I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards against the Pistons. But I would not be surprised if the Wizards lost this game. I'll say this. This is the kind of game I think can be close. But if the Wizards do lose, I don't expect it to be close at all. If they do lose, I think it'll be in blowout fashion. But tonight I take the Wizards with the points at home.
Charlotte versus Boston seems to be the most even game tonight, with Charlotte being 14-12 and Boston being 13-12. But Coach, the Celtics need this win tonight. Do you think that the home court advantage will be the difference?
Well, home court absolutely helps, but I think the difference is Boston is just a better team, and they're just starting to get into the swing of things. They've been hit by the injury bug. Isaiah Thomas has missed some games. Jay Crowder has been out. Horford has been out, so they're not even set on their rotations. And Brad Stevens does a heck of a job on both sides of the ball with his schemes and their execution. Now, Charlotte, this is a team that has been very inconsistent, and Steve Clifford has challenged them in terms of physicality. You can't just decide some days to defend, some days to rebound. He wants a consistent effort. One of the best coaches in the NBA, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, they've been tough. He's challenged the rest of the group. They're going to have to compete in the Garden, but I think the Celtics win.
Okay, another team in need of a big win after dropping back-to-back and their previous home game is the Chicago Bulls hosting the Milwaukee Bucks. Shayna, who gets the win in this one and why?
This is a hard game to call tonight because both teams have been playing pretty unpredictably. The Bulls have lost 5 of their last 7 games, and Milwaukee's lost 4 of their last 7 games. They won last night against the Bulls, but tonight they're going to be in Chicago. It's going to be much different. Rajon Rondo is going to be back in the starting lineup. And if they can get big games out of Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo, I think the Chicago Bulls will take this one, especially if everyone can perform on the defensive end, because Jabari Parker and Giannis Antetokounmpo are the only two that are really powerful on offense for the Bucks. So if they can stop them and then also produce on the Bulls' offensive end, I think the Bulls take this one tonight.
We are both hoping that our Lakers can get a win tonight up against the 76ers in Philly. What do you think, Tracy?
Well, one thing about Philly, Yannick, they play well at home. And it's going to come down to veterans, guard play, and the young guys feeling comfortable. And the young fellas are feeling comfortable at home with Philly. They have, obviously, they're a big team, athletic. But it's going to come down to guard play and who's going to execute down the stretch. I don't see it being a blowout. The veterans got to step up and win the game because the young ones are going to make their mistakes. They're going to go out there and play as free as possible. But whoever's playing well down the stretch, and the Lakers are not at home, so they don't feel as comfortable as Philly going down the stretch. So I'm taking the Sixers in this one.
Well, it's never easy heading to Miami to take on the Heat when you're in the midst of a road trip. But do you really see any problems for Doc Rivers and his Clippers as they've been so good away from LA this year with that 10-3 mark on the road?
Well, the Heat are definitely not a team to overlook. Dragic's going to have a great game. Hassan Whiteside's going to put on an amazing defensive show. But they just don't match up on any given game, whether away or home, to take on the Clippers. You know, if Chris Paul has a good night and his knees feel good, there's no doubt that they're going to pull away with the win here. It's going to be close. I'm not going to say this is a blowout, but I don't think that they can beat Doc Rivers and his Clippers.
Special part of the show, time to make you some money. We can do that because we've got resident pro Johnny Robb. He's been on fire. He's making you some coin as of late. Let's find out what Johnny's got on the docket. Here's Johnny. Boy, time to make people some money. Looking at those totals tonight, those over-unders, got a low of 186.5. That's in the Utah-Dallas game. And the high, of course, usually comes with either Golden State or Houston. Tonight, it's Houston at home against New Orleans, a total of 220. But there's other games on the docket as well. Total-wise, where's Johnny going tonight?
Well, Ken, you said it first. I'm going to take that 186, Dallas and Utah, and I'm going to go over. Wesley Matthews has been putting up some points. Dallas has been playing a little bit better. Utah's got Derek Favors and Gordon Hayward back up in there. I see them scoring more than their average on the Utah side, and same thing with Dallas. So I think that 186 is going to be easily surpassed.
Friday night in the NBA, Johnny, always some intriguing money lines. Miami at home, a plus 250. Makes you think they're going up against the Clippers, of course, and Utah at home, a big favorite. Imagine if Dallas beats them, you get a plus 600 back on the Mavericks. I don't think you can trust Cubans, guys. Who does Johnny have on the money line tonight on this Friday, December 16th?
Definitely not Dallas over Utah. No way. Possibly Miami. Clippers on the road, playing at home. Miami's playing decent. Hassan Whiteside, great defender, is a possibility there. Not a safe bet for me. And really, there's not that many great bets out there on the money line. But if there was one, it's going to cost you, and that's minus 900 Rockets at home over the Pelicans. If any bet out there, that's the one that I'd say is easy money.
Good Friday night to choose from, Johnny. Lots of good games on the docket. And the two best against the Vegas number are both in action and both at home. Toronto, they're minus 7.5 against Atlanta at home. 18-6-1 so far for the Raptors. Meanwhile, Houston 18-8 against the number. They're going to lay 11 to New Orleans. Who do you like tonight, Johnny? What's your best bet?
Both great games, Ken, that you're looking at there. On the Houston side, though, it's a little bit more than I want to cover. They could definitely do it, but on either side, I just don't know if it can be done. So the games I'm really looking at here is the Lakers over 76ers in Philly tonight with plus 1.5 to cover. We've got a lot of injuries on the Sixers side. Embiid's questionable. And then with the Lakers, we've got our key players back in, D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young, and a good core there. I really think they're going to bring this one home and get us that easy money.
Time to take a look at the world of fantasy. There's been plenty of action, plenty of movement as far as the leaderboards. Today we're going to focus in on Giannis Antetokounmpo and Derek Favors in greater detail to see if they can provide some value for your fantasy teams. Let's take it to our panel, see what they think.
Okay, Jay, which underachieving player should be targeted in trades?
Well, Chuck, I look at Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns here as he continues to disappoint now. Scored fewer than 18 points in 5 consecutive games, and he continues to struggle badly with that shot. Down now to 40% on the year from the field. But look, Devin Booker is such a young player. He just turned 20 at the start of this NBA season. And his minutes are still relatively high, getting 33 a game, and he has a high usage rate for the Phoenix Suns at 25.1. Look, the Suns are going to give this guy every opportunity they can to succeed, as he is a former lottery pick with tons of talent. I say that the minutes remain consistent, as does his shot attempts, but the percentage is going to rise throughout the year, so his scoring and productivity will be on the rise as well. Look, it's the Christmas season. I say make an offer. See who's feeling charitable. Perhaps you can get Devin for a bargain. Giannis Antetokounmpo's game is reaching new heights in his 4th NBA season as the Greek Freak is averaging 22.3 points, 8.9 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Tell me, is the Greek Freak a good pickup in your fantasy league?
Yes, he's a great pickup. This guy, to me, is a top 10 talent in all of basketball. Maybe a top 15 athlete in all of sports. This guy is special. He's called the Greek Freak for a reason. Jay, those numbers 22, 8, 5, 2 blocks, 2 steals to go along with that stat line. He's absolutely unbelievable. This shouldn't even be a question. If he's not on your team, then you are in trouble. He's the best player on the Milwaukee Bucks squad. His future is beyond bright. I'm a huge Greek Freak fan. He's going to continue to light up the stat line and make some highlight reel finishes. And simply put, play him, pick him up, grab him.
Derek Favors returned Wednesday night with limited time, but do you think his numbers over the past 2 seasons represent his ceiling, or will he give fantasy owners more in the near or distant future?
We have not seen his ceiling. It's good to have him back. Yes, we've had some injuries, but he's a player that only gets better and better on a team that's getting better and better. So he will definitely produce for fantasy, and I would not write him off.
All right, that's going to do it. Another show in the books, a fast-moving 30 minutes. I want to thank you, the viewers, for watching the show. And, of course, if you have any comments, whether you agree or disagree, this is your time to get involved. So please let us know. If you have any questions or topics you want to bring up for our panel, also let us know. We'll try and address them on the next show. Again, prayers for the family of Craig Sager, somebody that really gave his all to the NBA. We try to do that here at kwickieTV, NBA Today Quick Shots. I'm your host, Ken Thompson. Look forward to touching base next time on the show. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.